General Hospital, A Father's Price, when Sonny's war turns to ashes in the criminal underworld of Port Charles, Sonny had always walked a fine line, danger at his back, vengeance in his hands, and family in his heart. But when desperation clouded judgment and revenge overtook reason, he made a move that could shatter everything he held sacred. His decision to abduct Marco Rios, a pawn in a much bigger game, would ignite a firestorm far beyond his control. Marco wasn't just some low-level associate, he was the key to a much darker threat, Gen Sidwell, a man whose rage burned colder than ice and whose capacity for destruction would soon reach the very core of Sonny's life, his children. It started with Marco's disappearance. Sonny thought leveraging Marco would force Sidwell into negotiations over the docks, cutting off Sidwell's ambitions before they bloomed. But he underestimated the depths of Sidwell's resolve. A man like Sidwell never yields to threats, he responds with devastation. As news of Marco's abduction spread through shadowy channels, Sidwell's retaliation began, not with bullets, but with a far more personal assault: family. Dante Falconeri, Sonny's son and a dedicated cop, was ambushed in broad daylight during a routine operation. The hit was surgical, precise, clearly meant to maim, not kill. Dante clung to life at General Hospital, leaving Sonny reeling with guilt and fury. Then came the message. A cryptic but unmistakable warning: sell the docks or risk losing another child. Sonny was stunned. The war had moved off the streets and into his home. Even as Dante's blood had barely dried, Sidwell escalated. Christina was next. One moment she was walking home from Charlie's pub, and the next she vanished without a trace. Her phone, abandoned. Her apartment, undisturbed. Panic gripped the Davis family. Alexis was inconsolable. Ava, despite her complicated history with Sonny, felt the chill run down her spine as Avery's safety suddenly seemed fragile. Carly, ever the fighter, knew the look in Sonny's eyes, the storm of pride and pain, about to explode. What made it worse was the silence. Sidwell issued no direct ransom, no demands beyond the one Sonny had already heard. The only contact was a grainy video sent to Sonny's burner phone. Christina, bound but unharmed, stating in a shaking voice that Sidwell wouldn't stop until Sonny obeyed. There were no screams, no threats. Just the calm terror of a daughter caught in a war she never asked for. As the hours turned into days, the walls began to close in on Sonny. Alexis and Ava, usually on opposite ends of most matters, found themselves united in their fear. Carly, hardened by years of loss and grief, especially over Morgan, delivered the cruelest truth. She reminded Sonny of Morgan's death, not to wound him, but to awaken him. She told him that burying another child would destroy him. That no amount of honor was worth watching a coffin lower into the ground. Still, Sonny resisted. The docks had been his symbol of control in Port Charles for decades. Ceding them to Sidwell would mean not just a loss of power, but an identity. But Carly wouldn't back down. Neither would Ava nor Alexis. They confronted him together, not as enemies or ex-lovers, but as mothers. Women who had seen too many coffins, who had cradled too many memories. Their voices, unified in desperation, cracked Sonny's resolve. At General Hospital, Dante stirred, his first words a question about Christina. Seeing his son awake yet broken reinforced what Sonny feared most: he had already come close to losing one child. Could he bear the risk of losing another? Under the cover of night, Sonny reached out to Sidwell. A meeting was arranged in a neutral zone, Pier 47, the symbolic heart of Sonny's empire. No guards. No traps. Just a man beaten down by the weight of his choices. Sidwell arrived with his usual cold composure, Christina standing silently behind him. Sonny didn't flinch. He offered the docks, clean and without conditions. Sidwell accepted, then walked away, leaving Christina behind. But even as Sidwell faded into the shadows, the damage lingered. Sonny had surrendered his kingdom, but he had kept his family. Or had he? Port Charles awoke to a new order. Sidwell, now the undisputed crime lord of the waterfront, began reorganizing power dynamics. His people flooded into Sonny's former territories. The underground channels once flowing through Sonny now flowed through a new regime. But Sonny, for the first time in decades, had no stake in it. He tried to convince himself he was free. No longer tethered to violence. No longer forced to choose between blood and bloodshed. But freedom, it seemed, came with a price. His alliances began to crumble. Some saw his surrender as weakness. Others, like Brick and Dex, struggled with the transition. Jason, ever loyal, distanced himself, unsure of what Sonny had become. And Sonny? He spent his mornings at the hospital, watching Dante rebuild his strength. He spent his evenings with Avery and Donna, shielding them from the whispers of a legacy now slipping into silence. And late at night, he stared at the skyline, wondering if giving up the docks had truly ended the war, or simply begun a new one. Meanwhile, Sidwell's confidence grew. He threw parties on the waterfront. Hosted foreign investors. Made quiet overtures to corrupted officials. He had what he wanted. But in private, he remained haunted by Marco's captivity. Marco, once loyal to Sidwell, had not returned to his inner circle. He'd vanished after his release. And though Sidwell never said it aloud, he wondered, had Marco turned? Marco, in truth, had disappeared into the wind, carrying with him scars Sonny never saw. No longer anyone's pawn, Marco was now a ghost with secrets, ones that could burn both Sidwell and Sonny in equal measure. And so, the chessboard shifted. The king was off the board, but the game continued. Carly watched Sonny retreat from his world, knowing that wounds unseen cut the deepest. Ava observed Sidwell's rise, calculating her next move. Alexis poured her efforts into helping Christina recover, though the trauma lingered beneath her smiles. Port Charles, like its river, never stopped moving. Alliances would change. Secrets would surface. And the price Sonny paid for his children's safety may one day come due again. But for now, the guns were silent. The docks, sold. The war, on pause. And Sonny? A man without a kingdom, but with something far more fragile, hope. And hope, in Port Charles, is the most dangerous thing of all.